it's Nyx is here. A couple days ago, I think it was a couple days ago. No, yesterday, almost 2 days ago, I dropped my video, whacked out murals solved, and overwhelming positivity from it. I couldn't believe the amount of support that the video got, but there was one comment in particular that stood out to me. Yes, I know a random stranger on the internet disagreed with me, so I had to hone in on it in autistic detail and figure out what the problem was. Let me read it right now, because I pinned that bitch. That's how interested it got me. I'm not upset. Like, of course I expect people to disagree with me. That's always a given. It reads, I was really interested in this until you tied it to the court case. It's just wrong. The court case wasn't filed until January. There literally was no paperwork to file. In all likelihood, it was someone's legal team, either UMG or PG Lang internally, that advised him to self-censor. I responded to that with, interesting you say that. Thank you. I'm gonna get back to that. Now I left a little winky face. Bitches love winky face. I did me a little bit of research, and by a little I mean a lot of research, and I took notes, so we're just gonna go ahead and put these glasses on right now, and we're just gonna go ahead and go through these notes, okay? I did something that very few people have the attention span and the patience to do. I made a timeline, but if you like this video, go ahead and slap that like button, comment your thoughts, and let's get right into it. May 4th, 2024. Not Like Us was released. May 7th, 2024. Drake's house gets shot at only 3 days after the initial drop of Not Like Us. On the 18th of May, 2024, Not Like Us hits #1 on the Billboard Hot 100. It lasts for 53 consecutive weeks on the chart, not necessarily at #1, but on the Billboard 100, which is the top 100 songs out of all the songs that are put on streaming platforms. These are the top 100 that are being listened to consistently. The Not Like Us music video was released on July 4th, 2024. Boosted fucking Not Like Us yet again, because the music video was packed with so much symbolism, so much detail, more shots at Drake, and interesting, it was filmed at the Compton courthouse. Now, why would a courthouse show up in a Not Like Us music video if there wasn't anything judicial happening yet? Or so we thought. Not Like Us hits #1 a second time, July 20th, 2024. On September 8th, 2024, Kendrick is announced to perform for the Super Bowl halftime show. GNX drops on November 22nd, 2024. 3 days later, Drake submits a pre-action filing against UMG and Spotify over the Not Like Us song. The claim, buying streams and inflating streams on Spotify to give Not Like Us more credit than what it was actually worth. A day later, Drake files a second motion against UMG and iHeartRadio. The claim for this one is defamation of character because of what was said in the Not Like Us song. Follow me here. What is a pre-action filing? Pre-action filings in the court system are usually submitted when a plaintiff is about to initiate a lawsuit, but this is a pre-action petition to gather as much evidence as they can in order to form a proper legal case. January 14th, 2025, Drake withdraws the first petition that he filed against UMG and Spotify. They both responded and said, Drake, we love you, fam, but you're full of shit. So he withdraws the first motion, but here's where the pattern begins. Only to a day later, escalate the second motion filed against UMG and iHeartRadio into a full-blown lawsuit. Now this is a pattern here. Drake will submit legal action mere days after Kendrick Lamar makes a move, only to then either make a change to said legal process or add on to the legal process a day later. Like I said before, these cases do not happen overnight. There is preparation involved, especially for filings against an entire corporate entity, because there's paperwork, there are multiple artists involved, there are multiple staff members involved, not just Lucian Grange. So the CEOs of UMG, Spotify, and iHeartRadio were all hit with some sort of legal paperwork, all in the same week. This is huge, which means Kendrick knew about the initial filing before it even happened. And I'm gonna show you why. We're gonna go ahead and do some research right here. We're gonna do it live. How long does it take for a pre-action filing to go through? Timeline for pre-action filing varies greatly depending on the complexity of the case, the jurisdiction, and the specific protocol being followed. Unlike court proceedings, which have rigid deadlines, the pre-action phase is a period of investigation and negotiation intended to resolve disputes before a lawsuit is formally filed. We're gonna keep going. For more complex issues, the reasonable response time can be as long as 3 months. How's it going, y'all? This is post-editing Nixes here. I'm going to add on to the research that I did. Under general timelines for pre-litigation, it says that the pre-litigation phase during a court case can last from several months to a year or more. After pre-litigation, filing the complaint and getting the defendant's response can take anywhere between 1 and 3 months. Then there's the discovery process. This phase is the process in which more evidence is being gathered to potentially escalate it into a lawsuit. And this process can take anywhere from 3 to 12 months or longer. The pre-litigation, the complaint filing, and then the discovery phase is what's most important here. Is because it is basically saying that it took multiple months for the courts to draft up this paperwork. So I just wanted to add that piece in there because that important piece of evidence really solidifies my point. But back to the video, I've yapped on enough. Between the time that Not Like Us was released, hit the #1 on the Billboard, the music video was released, it hit #1 again. Then Kendrick was announced for the Super Bowl in September. He drops GNX in November, and 3 days after GNX drops, Drake files the pre-action against UMG and Spotify, only to file a second motion 1 day later against the same company and also iHeartRadio for 2 different things. Between May 4th and November 25th. What is that? May, June, July, August, September, October, November? 6 months. One of the lawsuits that he filed was because he felt that his safety was in danger, and he uses the event in which his house got shot at as evidence for this claim. For personal injury claims, they can take anywhere from 3 to 6 months. 3 to 6 months. It says that it varies, but this is the base thing for like your average case, right? Filing a lawsuit or filing any sort of legal paperwork against an entire corporation, not 1, not 2, but 3 corporations, that is a lot of paperwork. So that's 3 to 4 months for one, 3 to 4 months for the other, only for Drake to then double down and submit a second motion against the same company, and then dragging a third party into it. So that severely complicates the process, which is why after the paperwork was done, he wouldn't have been able to do anything with these motions until January, because look at the paperwork. They're lucky that they were even able to get all this shit done in 3 months. But that is the minimum for those types of claims. 3 to 6 months, that is the window. Proving Kendrick knew about this way before it happened. Because if you're thinking about it this way, one of my comments mentioned it. If he didn't know that there was about to be a lawsuit, why did he film at the courthouse for Not Like Us? When he dropped GNX, why did he mention stuff about, court trials and bleep things out and basically put people on blast that we didn't even know were being put on blast at the time? Because Kendrick did mention the lawsuit at the Super Bowl, which I believe was in February. But by then, the court case had already reached the public ears. It didn't reach the public until the date that it was escalated. So it was still it wasn't a lawsuit. It was like, think of it as like a newborn lawsuit, a lawsuit embryo. And it's specifically to gather as much evidence as you possibly can in order to escalate the motion into a full-blown lawsuit. So there are still courts involved, there's still lawyers involved, there's still tons of paperwork involved because they are gathering evidence to build into a lawsuit, which is why Drake withdrew the first motion. He withdrew the first motion because they didn't have enough evidence to escalate it into a full case. Whereas with the second motion that he filed, they were able to gather enough evidence to escalate that motion into a full-blown lawsuit against UMG and iHeartRadio. For anybody who's doubting this, I don't know why, like, the evidence is literally right here. It took maybe 20-30 minutes of research and gathering times and dates to put together a cohesive timeline and to connect all of them. But yeah, Kendrick knew about the court case, y'all. So if there were any doubts that he knew about this court case, I refer you to this concrete evidence right here. And with knowledge of how the legal system works, you can quite literally look this shit up on Google. Like, I don't understand. We have so much knowledge in the palm of our hands, and people still choose to be ignorant. And that's why I want to spread knowledge. I want to give people knowledge. You know, I want to show people that it's okay. It's okay to use your brains. It's okay to do your research. It's okay to do your research live because you're tapping into this well of information. Let me take these fucking glasses off so I can look at y'all. So I can learn you a little something. We did not spend decades putting together and discovering and cultivating this mass market of information just to completely ignore it and go off of what we think is the truth. I could have easily just hopped on this video and spouted a bunch of bullshit at y'all and been like, that's the truth. And a few of y'all would have actually believed me. But I did research because I believe that backing up your claims with concrete, irrefutable evidence it's what debating is. That's what debating is. I'm not saying that the person who said I was wrong, I'm not hating on them. Don't hate on their comment. I pinned it for a reason. I pinned it just so, because I would forget and I would have to, y'all left so many comments on that video, man. I had to scroll for quite a while until I could find it. But yes, that was my little addendum there, just to further prove my point. So if there were any remaining doubts as to whether or not Kendrick knew about this court case, I implore you to produce your evidence and we can have a talk about it. But, as always, I have been Nixus, and I will catch y'all in the next video. See ya.